Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Eitayo, and it's such a pleasure to be here today. This is another week, another time, another opportunity to have a great conversation with you and our guest and analyst. We are streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa, to Africa, and the entire world. You don't want to miss today's show. If you know someone that knows someone that knows someone that should be part of the show today, please give them a call, send them a message, tell them to join, tell them the Good Morning Education Show is live and is about to go down. Yes, yes, yes. Last weekend was a Valentine weekend. I would love to hear from you how your Valentine went, how your weekend went. And I believe that it's just going to be a great one. Today, we have fantastic conversation today, and we'll be discussing on something that I believe that you will find useful, you will find interesting, and you'll find needful as well. This is the Good Morning Education Show. We are here, we are live, and it's direct. We are always excited to welcome everyone to the show. On the show, we talk about news, we talk about things that happen within the world of education and around the world of education. And please, when you connect with us, please tell us your name, where you're streaming from, connecting from, and do not hesitate to also contribute as we have the conversation today. Please feel free to ask questions. If you do have questions, please feel free to ask your questions, as we would always promise to treat most of the questions as time permits on the show. So most times what we do is we have experts and analysts come together to share their views about the topic of the day and subject matter. And I believe that today is going to be a great one. It's going to be a great one. If you are there, just say it after me. It's going to be a great one. Yes. So, and we're going to be talking about how to have tough conversations. What are tough conversations? How do you have them? Tough conversations within the workplace, tough conversations with colleagues, tough conversations with superiors, tough conversations with subordinates, tough conversation with clients and customers. Sometimes this is just what you really need to do to be able to get what you need to have. And I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very excited to have you. Oh, good morning. It's going to be a great one. Yes. Bean, how was your Valentine weekend? Tell me about it. How are you today? Great to have you on the show. Great to have you on the show. Fantastic people are always continuously joining us on the show. So, without wasting much time, I will just go on a quick break, and trust me, we will be back in the next few seconds. Thank you. And we're back, and this is the Good Morning Education Show. And of course, it's going to be a great one today. It's going to be a great one today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us for the first time, please do let us know there's a bell of blessing available for you. And I'm sure you will also, find it interesting. Yes, it is interesting. So we're going to be talking about how to have tough conversation. Have you ever had tough conversation before? And most times I notice that this is actually something that a lot of people fear and dread, tough conversations. A lot of people will rather, you know, rather pass through or make a pass, A lot of people won't mind to just dismiss it and just, think about it and, leave it there. But the truth is, we've all been to this situation before where we need to really deal with tough conversations. And we need to understand that having tough conversations or difficult conversations, they're never easy. I'm not actually trying to say that it's a walk in the park, but there are things that are essential. You need to understand that when you get into the workplace, there's certain kind of communications that they are essential. You know, they are quite important. But whether you like it or not, you need to have these kind of things. It has to happen for you. It has to happen through you. It has to happen within you. Top conversations. I would like to say that conversations that hit strong chords. They have the tendency to be able to put someone in an uncomfortable situation. Sometimes there are opinions and perceptions that we have about the subject matter, and their emotions running very strong. And most of the time, you find out that a lot of times, if you don't have tough conversation, it sometimes is as a reflection of something that is inside of you, something that you're dealing with. And because you're dealing with such a thing, you tend to always have a mix. Hello, Safety Chick. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Richie. Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a beautiful weekend.
Safety Chick, after launching your book, what did you do on Sunday? You didn't report to duty.
Uh, I had too many assignments and deadlines I had to meet. Do you know, I slept at 3 a.m. this morning. It was
Assignment,
crazy.
Safety Chick.
I had assignments, I had grants, I had deadlines yesterday.
Love
Yeah, I had
assignments. Love
assignments.
assignment.
Is that what you're talking about? Oh my God. Valentine, no, I didn't even do Valentine. Like, I was busy working. Like, I didn't even remember that yesterday was Valentine. Oh my God. So I had these deadlines. I had an assignment that was due at midnight. It
Yeah.
works. I had to sit down, settle down, and do it. I had grant applications. I needed to speak with the collaborator, fine tune our budgets and work plan, submit. Then I had to pack my stuff because I'm traveling this morning. So I did all that. I started packing maybe around 2 a.m. Oh, then I had to arrange dispatch of the books to the various universities it's going to. Yeah,
So
so I slept at. Oh my God.
so you're
Yesterday was
you're ho-
crazy.
you're off you're off to a great start.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I don't have plans. Yeah, but I feel like everything will turn out well. This is my impromptu work.
Oh, okay, your trip, right?
Yes, yes.
You want to share about the trip?
Okay, so I'll be going to Abuja this morning, and
Oh,
I'll be here for
you.
10 days. So I'm open to speaking with schools, children, teachers in schools in Abuja. Just share with them about, child safety, school safety. I'm also open to speaking with young people, women in business, or people running social enterprises or youth development. Those are the things I do. So I'm open to having those conversations with as people as available. And I'm basically chilling. This my Abuja. I'm going to. I'm there to play because I'm just resting. I've worked hard. The year is still new, but I've really worked hard. But I'm open to also sharing knowledge as while I'm present in Abuja.
Fantastic. So I know that you're doing solo runs without me, but no problem. There is God in all the things you're doing. And the last boy in the house. Good morning. She's looking all busty and serious with the red color at the background. This Valentine
Good morning.
overflow. If your Valentine overflow, tell me.
Good morning. Good morning, Safety Chick. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. It's great to be back here again. I hope you had a
Fantastic.
lovely weekend.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Work
The
filled
weekend.
weekend is equals to lovely weekend. And Ugochi is jetting
Ooh.
out of Lagos to go and flex in the city of Abuja. She's probably going to Aso Rock as well, or she's going to drive
Oh,
through Aso Rock.
wow.
She might drive
Taking
Wow.
me.
through, just drive through.
Meeting to the rock. I'll be
So
right there.
she wants to check
There's no
whether they are
stopping
putting on
you, is there?
nose mask in Abuja. She's going on inspection and she's going to have shawarma in her hand and a bottle of drink in her hand. She's going to be letting her head down. She's going to be
Well,
feeling
Sorry to be
fine.
Well, a girl's gotta do what she's gotta do, right? And look, there's no stopping you.
Why do you have to say a girl has to do what
I
she has to do?
wanna
Why can't say she
wait,
has to
wait,
do
Mr.
what she
Rotimi.
has to do? Why do you have to say a girl has to do? You
She's
guys
gonna
always bring
do.
this battle of the sexes all to the show. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Well, that's what it is. Let me just say here,
It's
Ugochi,
not fair if you're.
congratulations.
It's not fair. It's not
Wait now,
fair
Mr.
because I'm the only
Rotimi.
guy now. Okay, I'll
Okay,
call my
okay.
people where them be, who
Compress.
them be.
Okay, so let the guys represent. Let them show up. Let them show
Okay,
up. Like
okay.
okay, Ugochi, I
You
just want to
asked for it.
say
You're
here,
gonna get it.
congratulations on your book launch.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you
Sorry?
so much. That lunch
Yeah,
was such a
yeah, it's
dream. I'm just
amazing.
so happy. Yes, I'm thankful to God. It's one thing to get an idea or an instruction and then see it through to execution. So having that book launch on
Oh,
Saturday, seeing the reviews, the comments, the interest, I'm just blown away basically. So I'm thankful to God.
She's blown away. She's even
congratulations. Tell me
flying
about
away.
it.
Come on,
Tell me
not on
about
my
having
show
plans and
later.
executions and all of that. Tell me about it.
All right, so let's go straight to the conversation of the day before people start feeling like Ugochi is making them jealous. Um, so we're having tough conversation, not trip conversations today. Apart from the one who is traveling and going somewhere, we are here live in the studios, and we're joined by our ambassador in the UAE, Ifyok, all the way from UAE. And so let's just talk about the topic. The topic says how to have tough conversations. How to have tough conversations. The first question I would like to ask is this: what is it about tough conversations? What does it really mean when you say tough conversation? If you're, I'll ask you to start, and then I'll move over to Safety Chick. When you hear the word tough conversation, what comes to your mind?
Well, so as one receiving or being a recipient, what would come to my mind would be some level of discomfort and uncertainty, particularly if I'm not sure of what the conversation is about. Like if my boss comes to me and says, we need to talk, or there's something I need to talk to you about, I'll immediately be thrown off balance, especially if there's been no hint as to what could be the topic of discussion. Now, as someone who would be giving or who is the boss, okay, who is at the dishing outside, I think for me, what would come to my mind would be how to have that conversation in such a way that I do not put the other person, I do not throw the other person off, but pass that message across in a very clear and definite manner that gets me to achieve the purpose of that conversation. So it's all surrounded around discomfort and could be pain, emotions, and all of that.
All right, Uguchi, over to you. Tough conversation.
I'll just ride on what Ifyok has just said. Tough conversations could be uncomfortable, it could be awkward, and it's just because the parties involved either have differing opinions or there is or tempers are running high. Because again, sometimes you guys might actually be on the same page, but because you're not communicating it clearly, tempers are running high. So it's about being able to manage that difficulty without making other people, the parties involved, to leave that conversation feeling worthless, feeling not good enough, or feeling pain that could have been avoided. Yeah. Welcome, Mrs. Adelsi. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rotimi, Safety Check. And of course, our wonderful.
See, I spy with my little eyes somewhere different. Something get away. Something. Something fishy going on.
You're spying
Don't
on
tell
me
me
and
you're
we're
in Dubai.
Ah, Titi, oh, I will finish you if you try it. Titi, you did not pay your tithes.
Can we get back to the show? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show.
I suspect all you ladies, if your background has changed, she has a red overflow. Titi is in a different location. The goat is flying out, flying away. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Me, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, city of
Are you
Lagos.
not happy that we bring variety? We bring variety. We can't just be same old, same old. You'll be bored. That's
You're
why
not
we're giving
serious.
you spice.
You're not serious. That's a tough conversation I need to have with you. Let's have a tough conversation with you, if you're Titi and the rest of the gang, right? Yes. All right. So, fantastic conversation, fantastic definition. Titi, welcome to the show. So, we're talking about how to have tough conversation. And Ifyok started with helping us with the concerns that it could actually be from the person initiating or the recipient, right? She said, for example, if she's the recipient and she hears someone says, we need to talk. That that feeling of you need to talk, there's suspense and discomfort that comes with it. You're like wondering, what could have gone wrong? What's happening? And then on the other hand, if you're the one more or less bringing the conversation to the table,
Yeah.
you probably have the concern of how do I manage emotions, or probably how do I ensure this doesn't go off or go south? And of course, safety chick also kind of emphasize on it. But I would like to hear from you, Titi. What do you think about tough conversations?
Hmm. You know, my son has this trick that he does when he wants to have tough conversations with me. When he has done something that he knows he shouldn't do. So he comes and says, "Mommy, I have good news, and Mommy, I have bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?"
At that level, your voice is a strategist, man.
You know how it is. You're like, so
Honestly.
I'm telling you, this guy is just like, so he has this one of, he can decide that, he tells you, depending on which one you say, he tells you the good news, and then you feel, okay, let me hear the bad news. Then he now has that tough conversation. Oh, I got 2/10 in my spelling, that kind of thing. So it kind of, or sometimes he says, I have bad news and worse news. So you're like, I found that for him, it's a good way. On that side, it has what he considers, his own tough conversations with me, by starting with, and how children are. They kind of know the kind of things that constitutes good news to you. When he says, "Oh, Mommy, do you know that I got this?" I'm like, "Okay, good news." So sometimes I say, "No, let me hear the bad news first. Let me see what it is." But the thing about it is that whatever the bad news is, if he has said he has good news and he has bad news, then after hearing the bad news, okay, let me hear the good news. Then it kind of, waters down.
Balances it.
It kind of waters down. You've heard the good news that makes you a bit happy, and then the bad news puts the bad news in a different light. So I think that's funny, and he does it all the time. I have good news and I have bad news. So it's a good
Fantastic.
way of
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Florence Jeremy, for joining. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now to the next question. Now that we know that tough conversations have their mixed reactions and mixed feelings, and thanks to that live example from Titi, I would like us to go straight to helping someone out there, preferably maybe it's a leader, a school leader out there, or probably it's a parent out there, or it's a boss, a CEO, like Ifyok was saying that if I'm the boss, I'll be thinking of how to. So how do we get people to that point of having, tough conversation? How do we get them to scale through that fear? Because most times a lot of things get swept under the carpet just because we are looking at, I'm not sure the outcome of this conversation. So, let things slide. I want to find out how. Are there specific points you want to share? Maybe we could make that so relatable to the audience. So I'll start with Ifyok once again, and then I'll move to Safety Chick, and I'm coming back to Titi.
All right. So let me start by saying that conversations or having difficult conversations could stem out of a conflict. It could stem out of just anything. It could be performance based. It could be just something you want to bring up to the attention of the person you're having the conversation with. And it could be, back and forth. It could be, it's not a one-way street. Okay. So it's important that we remember or keep in mind that conflicts will always happen. And the way and manner in which we manage these conflicts or these misunderstandings or these difficult circumstances could affect a relationship, it could affect an organization or a company or the school or whatever it is that we're trying to salvage. Let me put it that way. So it's important that I identify what is it that you want to achieve out of it. What's the main goal? What's the purpose? So before you have so the way I do it is when I want to have those difficult conversations with people, I have like a before, during, and after. I consider what do I need to put in place or think about before I enter this conversation, before I engage with this person. And during the conversation, what do I have? What can I keep in mind, constantly reminding myself of? And at the end, what's the purpose and how do I achieve that? After the conversation, what do I do? So there's a before, a during, and after scenario to consider before you even engage in difficult conversations.
Thank you
I
so
don't know
much.
if it was a little bit there, but
Yeah, it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Ugoti,
Yes,
the
I
safety
agree.
flyer,
I totally
the safety chick flying away. Could you tell us how do we
yeah. So
safely
I totally.
fly
Oh
into a
God, Mr.
conversation?
MTV. Okay, so I totally like what Ifyok has just said because it's so important. I would like to add that one of the things that can make tough conversations happen easily is to prepare before you need to have a tough conversation. So what do I mean by that? So maybe you are in a relationship, you have children, you have younger ones, or you have friends. Be the kind of person that from the beginning, they know that you are accepting. They can tell you anything and know that you're not going to kill them. Let them, you have to make yourself seen as a safe space before the day they will need it. Because that is what is going to make them to come and tell you. I mean, that's the only reason why Mr. Dewusi's child will come and meet her and say, I have good news and I have bad news. Because he knows that this is a safe space. So I'm saying this from the example of my younger siblings. So because I know that teenagers, when they were much younger, teenagers and they're all growing out of that phase, I know how teenagers can be quite funny, the kind of experiences they might go through in school. And so they will not want to tell their elder ones because they don't want anybody to finish them. So I had to create friendships with them very early, such that you can tell me anything. And so as I'm speaking to you, my younger ones can come and meet me. They can just come to my room or come to my workspace and say, I want to speak to you. I want to say something. Because they know that I won't kill them, no matter how bad. Somebody has gone out to go and fight and he came back to tell me, but I wouldn't have known he fought. Then he came back by himself to tell me I fought, the person did like this, I was so angry. He explained himself. And then I asked questions, So the only thing that will make them to come and I've heard all sorts. Like one day I was just lying down on my bed and one of them just came and said, I have something to say. I'm like, Jesus, where we go? Honestly, what I heard that morning. But I had to act all cool and calm out because that's another thing. When you're having a tough conversation, you have to make sure that you're managing emotions properly. Be empathetic. Put yourself in the person's shoes. Don't have the demeanor that, oh, you're finished. Because sometimes people are watching your appearance, your facial, your countenance, and how you are reacting can determine if they are going to pause the conversation or go ahead.
Or go on, yeah.
And you don't
All
want that
right.
to happen. You want that conversation to go through to the end. So make yourself a safe space from the beginning, and then when the conversation is going on, try be empathetic. Don't don't condemn. Avoid condemning upfront. Listen first. Ask questions. Identify the good points in that conversation first before you now go on to the other side. And then, of course, when you're saying the other side, you must try as much as possible the sandwich approach. Try to, say something nice, put the bat in the middle, then end it again with good feedback, and just manage it properly so that emotions do not run amok, basically.
Ugochi,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I have a very tough conversation to have with you, and I want you to be calm about this. I want you to be straight about this. I want you to already know you're a safe space because I need to tell you this. You're traveling to Abuja this morning. Ugochi, I don't understand. I can't understand. I can't understand. It's a tough conversation. And you're not showing me body language that's encouraging. You're laughing at me. I thought you're a safe space, Ugochi.
No,
Ugochi,
sir. Can you see my teeth? I'm wearing a
I can see you. I know you. I know you. I see those eyes.
I'm not laughing.
Eyes. I'm gonna get you. All right, thank you, Gideon Essay, for joining.
My eyes are laughing.
Over to Titi.
Let's look at, I'm trying, as each person was talking, I was trying to look at I like what Gideon said, because I was trying to look at the difficult conversations that I've had to have. So he says the quality of our lives depends on the number of difficult conversations we have. That's so hilarious. But look at it. A typical one for most of us is when we have to go and tell our bosses that we are resigning. So it's usually a difficult conversation.
Very difficult. Really? That's your boss's worst nightmare.
It's the same way. And you as an employer too, especially when it's one of your
going to get to a portrait from it. The block chapter. Oh my God.
My head is catching you, safety chick.
Sorry, so I really forgot.
I think she needs to have a difficult conversation with the driver.
So when I think about it, I'm putting myself the same. What are the difficult conversations I've had? And the one that readily comes to mind is when you have to resign. So I'm sure a number of educators looking at that and said, "Oh, I have to resign." And like Safety Chick said, your boss can be an easy and accommodating person, or your boss might not be. But either which way, you have to have that difficult conversation. Now, some people skit around it, whereby they send the message by text, or they first of all go and drop their letter, without having that conversation first. I feel that is, that's one thing you shouldn't do. Don't avoid difficult conversations. You have to, what they say, meet it head on. But things that I found that works for me in all the difficult conversations I've had is that I always, first of all, run it by someone. I always try to run it by an objective person, that can say, okay, I'll say this is the way my boss is, because you already know your boss. If you work with the person for 1 or 2 years, if the person is a hysterical, emotional, manipulative person, you already know all that, So what I always do is I try to have a conversation with someone else, an independent party, say, I want to have this difficult conversation. This is how I want to say it. And so that the person kind of we kind of do it like a role play. And that person said, well, the way you said it, I feel, this is not the way to go about it. This is what you should have said. This is what you should have said. So that's something that's really worked. Even when I'm very angry, if I feel I've been offended by my boss, which is another difficult conversation, and I really want to have it out with the person, and let the person know how I feel, same thing. I've learned not to talk in anger. So if you offend me, the easiest way to know that you've offended me is if I'm silent. If I'm very silent, it means I'm very angry, because I've learned that never say anything in annoyance. So whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with your children, that's the first thing. So I always try to run the conversation. So the first thing is I don't say anything in annoyance. I run the conversation with someone else. And one of the things I've learned in running conversation with people is whenever you're doing something, always provide a solution. So for instance, if I'm going to go and tell my boss I'm going to resign, in that space of the conversation, I also say how I intend to hand over my work, not leave any gap. Do you understand? I quickly say how much time I'm going to give that provides enough time for another person to come and take that role. I will not go and resign and then be saying I'm not showing up at work next week. No. So when you're having that difficult conversation, it's best to also have someone that you rehearse the conversation with, and in that conversation, have a solution that you're already putting for that difficult situation that you're going to put the person in. So if you say, oh, like when my staff come to tell me that, oh, we have this top deadline, and that's the weekend they're telling me that their cousin is getting married or their sister is getting married, it's a difficult conversation to have. So I expect them to be telling me the solution in that, because once you see the solution in that conversation, it tends to dissipate the annoyance that person is already going to have. So if you tell me that, oh well, I want to go to Ibadan because my sister is getting married, and we have a tight deadline, you already provide me a solution that would ensure that I don't feel you left me to my own devices at such a very crucial time. So I think let me just stop there.
Hanging, yeah.
Fantastic, awesome. And while you were speaking, your cousin stepped into the studios. Let's welcome KK in the building.
Hello, cousin.
Your cousin is all right, KK, we're speaking on a topic called
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
How to have tough conversation. And that's what we're talking about today. And of course, we would like to hear your thoughts on that. And of course, Rhoda is also in the building as well.
Hello.
Hi, Rhoda. So, it'll be great to contribute, but I only just joined. So I'm a little bit at a loss of where the conversation is going. So if I could just hear a bit more, if I could just listen a bit more, then perhaps I would gain some context.
Okay, so
you're about to resign. How do you have that difficult conversation with your boss? Or
so that's what
you're
about
to leave you in the lurch. How does she have that difficult conversation with you? Or your son is about to tell you he was expelled from school. How should he have that difficult conversation with you?
Thank you, Titi, for making it so colorful.
The police says one needs full armor to have some tough conversation.
Okay, so well, in that vein, going with what Titi has said, those are really difficult conversations to have, actually. But I always believe that it's difficult because. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
In my opinion, right, they're difficult because we haven't quite prepped the ground. Let me put it like that. So assuming that we haven't prepped the ground and it's just something that needs to be said, I agree 100% with how Titi seemed to approach it. That's coming at it, you know what, there's this problem, I'm dropping in your hands. However, I do have a solution that is workable, and I am not just walking away. I'm going to give you XYZ amount of time. So in terms of work, I always say that work ethics and of course, general company policies and common sense really should guide our decisions when we're having tough conversations. However, for me, tough conversations are actually the bane of the initiator. So me that is calling for that tough conversation. Why am I calling for that tough conversation at that time? Usually, especially from the point of view of an employer, it's because maybe something is happening that I'm not quite sure, and I want to arrest the situation. So I come in there with specific objectives. Again, following what Titi said, specific objectives for why I am having that conversation. What are the actions that should result as a result of that conversation, that should happen as a result of that conversation, and then what are the results I'm hoping to see. So I try and communicate three, maybe not in the first initial conversation, but as the conversation progresses, I make sure that I communicate those three very strongly, because there's no point having a tough conversation and then there's no end or there's no purpose to the tough conversation, right? We're supposed to meet a particular goal. So in the case of people resigning, for example, when I resigned, it was a difficult place to be, and I did give no, so I was meant to give 6 months notice, but the circumstances surrounding my resignation, I could not give 6 months notice. So I gave 1 month notice, and I said to them, I'm available whenever you need me. I organized my laptop, I organized my work schedule, I organized everything. As in, I did my work for 1 year, going forward, just to make sure that leaving the way I knew that I had to leave wasn't something that was going to put the company in a very difficult position. I did. But if tough conversations should be had, they should be had. In my own opinion, people try and start tough conversations, and they need to have an agenda. You can't go into a tough conversation without an agenda. I think it's counterproductive, because already it's a tough conversation to have. And then you're going in there with a clear sense of direction. I think it just makes useless out of that entire exercise. All right, back to you, Rotimi.
I'll say that, okay. So on my list, as we're having this conversation, hold on, Titi, I'm having a tough conversation here. Thank you. Hold on, Titi. This is a very tough conversation. On my list right now, okay, do you know that Safety Chick is traveling out of Lagos today? And she's on her way to live on a jet plane. She's currently in a taxi. In fact, item number 2 on my agenda, I'm having this tough conversation with KK. I don't like that fact that she's traveling without my approval. I don't understand. I don't know why. And then KK, do you know that when we started the show, when Titi came into the show, she came in late and she was in a strange background. I don't know where Titi went for the weekend. Do you understand? Can you imagine if you decided to item number 4, you took your cousin to give you an illustration before you could answer my question. I don't get this. And then Rhoda that should support me by saying, hello, Rotimi, calm down. Rhoda is laughing at me. Item number 6. That's a tough number. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You guys are just having fun balling. I need to call my Arsenals. I need to call my goals.
You have an agenda. Your Arsenals don't care. No backup for him.
You are on agenda. You are talking. Instead of to ask for forgiveness.
You have an agenda. Agendaless. Hence, the conversation is going to go in a very Ori direction.
Okay, Titi, over to you. Okay, Titi ran away. See?
Oh my God.
All right, so Rhoda, we're having tough conversations today. How to have tough conversations, the topic, and I'm sure.
Rotimi, I wanted to add for Rhoda to answer. Rhoda, you need to go and have a tough conversation with your boss about an increase in salary. Please tell us how you will have this tough conversation.
Yeah, finish.
Titi, you are in trouble. Yeah, we're gonna have tough conversations. Okay. I'll take that. I think it's a very good one. What I always suggest, especially with my teammates, is like, you can have any conversation. You really can have any conversation with anybody, but make sure that you're coming to the conversation or to the conversation table with enough evidence. Don't be found wanting. Anybody can ask for an increase. Anybody, including people who meet their appraisals at 30%. In their minds, they have met it at 80%. Right? The onus is on you, the employer, to have your evidence as well to back up whatever the person is coming with, which is why systems within the workspace need to be really tight, such that appraisal is not one way. For example, there's no self-appraisal, and when self-appraisal, if you have self-appraisals as part of what you do, there's a system that comes with, because the person is having a self-appraisal, then there's a conversation with their line manager to agree that is their self-appraisal notes or evidence or benchmark, whatever you choose. And then that becomes the person's KPI within a period of time. And then you move into agreeing or disagreeing for a salary raise or not. And I'm sure people just don't have, again, like KK would say, like, policies really guide a lot of things. You just don't walk up to the conversation of salary increase. There's a time that conversation happens. So is it an annual event? Is it a termly event? Is there something that celebrates inspirational stuff that is clear to everybody to see? There are things to do, before you walk into it's asking for a salary increase, Titi. But one thing that guides generally, or I feel that should guide top conversations got to put it in, being empathetic. Empathy is key in the workplace. Being empathetic. And then I think one more thing for me is being listening. Allow everybody to speak. That's something that a lot of people don't do when they're having tough conversations. You've spoken, let the other person speak.
Very true.
That's something you have to. And then try. My last thing, try. So I said, keep your emotions in control, being empathetic, then allowing everyone to speak. I think the key thing for me also is being solutions oriented. We don't overflow the problem. What is the solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Rhoda.
Yes.
Can I?
What Rhoda said about your emotions, managing your emotions and being empathetic. So when you have that tough conversation, put yourself in that person's shoes and say, how would you have, broken it? Especially if you are the more matured one, so to speak. Like, well, not in the word matured one. If your child is having a conversation with you that is a difficult one, it's a bit different. But yes,
So can I say something here?
Go ahead.
You can.
Okay, so I wanted to say on both parties, for both parties, it's important to practice breathing, because no matter how in control you feel that you have. Hi, Rhoda. Hi, everyone.
I'm so sorry.
Hi, sorry.
I jumped
So
off.
no matter how in control you feel you are of the situation, it's important to, one, keep breathing, because at any point in time, the conversation could go awry. It could go, it could not go as planned, even though you've gone into that conversation with a defined purpose or a desired outcome. You must bear in mind that it may not go as planned. So because of that, you have to be open to, like Rhoda said, listen actively. But when you listen, hear the other person's perspective, and take it into consideration when you're planning the solutions. But let it not be a preconceived solution that you're coming into the meeting or into the conversation with, but be open to make it a dialogue. Okay, how do we work around this situation to bring the desired solution that we want? Okay, what is it that we want out of this conversation? It's important that at the beginning of those conversations, we start that way to say, okay, at the end of this conversation, I'm gonna leave this place happy with the solution. The person doesn't feel washed or wasted by the time you're done you're done with him. And like Ugochi said, using that sandwich approach, somehow we can work together to bring that conversation to a safe landing. At the end of the day, there should be a follow-up after that. After the conversation has happened, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, that follow-up allows the person to feel like they have that safe space with you. So that's just what was going through my mind as well speaking.
Sorry, let me do another board in this conversation. What if you're having that difficult conversation and the person just goes berserk? How should you how should you handle it? Because your hope is that when you have that conversation, you've rehearsed it with someone, you've put in so to speak, you've dotted all your I's, crossed all your T's. But when you present it to the person just goes berserk. What should you do?
For me, what I would do in that situation, because I actually experienced something like that this week. That's last week rather. And I tried to listen to what the person was saying to understand what the annoyance, what the anger was, because I could sense the anger in responding to what I was saying. So I could sense that there was a misunderstanding. So I tried to listen and try to calm the person down. And when I saw that it also wasn't working, I also had to apologize and saying that, okay, I think that you're misunderstanding. I don't mean it this way. And then I had to backtrack out of that conversation, because when tempers are flaring, that's not the time you are going to get your solution. What you will need to do is find a way to step out of that conversation in an easy way without conflict, so that when tempers are down, you can now go back and say, okay, this wasn't what I meant. So I hear you, this is how you felt and all that, but this is actually what I meant. But the person has to be calm for you to come back. Because once that person is really upset and you are trying to explain yourself again, the person keeps getting angry. But when you try to de-escalate the situation by backtracking, by apologizing, by reiterating that there's a misunderstanding, even though the conversation ends, the person has some time to process what has been said. And then later, when the person is much more calmer, you can go back and say, explain again that this is not what I meant. I understand that this is what you understood, but honestly, that wasn't what I was thinking. You are able to come back again, because it's bound to happen that someone, after all the well-laid plans, the person wouldn't just get it. But you have to find a way to come out as easily as possible, and then later on you go back.
Okay, thank you so much. Chiti, does that suffice? Or you're still
Like,
in the
safety
business
chick
of
is a
doing
pro in
goods?
difficult. Safety chick is a pro in handling difficult situations. So yeah, it's a. I think she was on point. It's fine.
I'm I'm not a pro yet, too. I'm still, working on. These things. It's from experience. You just be gathering all the ammunition, all the skills. You learn every time. Honestly, you learn every time.
But I think like one of the things that
Network.
we've already reiterated here is that we must not hide or run from having these conversations. Um, Sometimes there's this self-sabotage effect that you feel when you have conversations like this. It makes you look like you're the bad one, because sometimes you're going into waters that will ruffle feathers. Fine, even though
Exactly.
there will be solution. Fine, even though there will be answers. But the fact that you could have a conversation and someone actually, especially when there's a mediator. Let me share with you a personal experience, right? Um, I'm not going to give full details as Titi is already smiling, but I'm going to run around the circles. So I remember I had something like that with my mom, and she kind of reported me to my auntie and my uncle. So the first thing was I just got a call. You know that kind of call that, please, I need to see you. This is uncles and aunties that you revere, but they don't say that. If they call you, it's either to say that, oh, I've been trying to reach your mom. I couldn't reach her. Those are straight conversations. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. But then someone calls you out of the blue and says, I need to see you. I was so scared. And then I got there and I was asked some strange questions, and okay, that one left. And then the other the other meeting
Let's say
I
you doing
now
that
had
later.
was a
Because these
general.
people, they
At
starting
that
to
general
people.
meeting, uh, my mom's car. I just saw my mom's car. Like they told me, like come for 3 p.m. So I got there like 3 and trying to park my car. I just saw my mom's car there. That's when I knew that this one is thriller in Manila. So she had probably gone there ahead of me. So probably there's been pre-briefing and everything. So respectfully now, okay, what's up? This and this and that. And because I didn't want to say some things, right, that won't make her look bad, I was just soaking it all in. And then my uncle just said, you know what, no, 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 no. You can't just be saying yes, 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 yes. You're a man. and I fell for that bait. So I was like, oh yeah, my uncle's on my side. I didn't know it was a bait, So I felt okay, yeah, there's someone that said that I should be about to speak. So me too, I'm a man. I went to open my mouth. By the time I finished, I've not cried as a man like that before. By the time I finished my life for me, as in, I didn't know when I just started crying. Like I was crying because I fell for a bit. I should have not fell for. But then everything now made
No,
me. He said,
but I feel like that was a good conversation because all the elements that make for a good tough conversations were in there. You were allowed to speak, and that led to some kind of correction that helped to bring you to tears and became likely a defining moment for you. I think every conversation that ultimately becomes tough, has its main goal as helping the person to become better.
yeah.
So if that's what it is, then it's what it is. If it's helping the person to become better, then absolutely is actually what's supposed to be. Is if it's helping the person to move from one stage of their life to the next stage of their life, then absolutely that's what it's supposed to be. And so it's a great thing, because all the elements of a great conversation, people listening to you, you airing your views, you coming with an evidence, maybe they had more evidence from more than you. All of those things were all there, and it's led to who you are. So tough conversations are good because that's it. Things, we all are different and we all have different kinds of work ethics. We all have different kind of goals. And sometimes our goals are misaligned. It's not as if your goals are bad necessarily. It's just that they're not aligned. And if they're not aligned to a general purpose or a general goal, that is a problem. Because then if that goal is what everybody's supposed to have as not everybody agrees with the main goal. But the point is that that's the main goal. That's why you employ people to work for you. It becomes your goal, and then everybody needs to tie to it. So I think that was a good conversation, and I think that's why we have the boss, mentor, coach.
It was a
Development.
good conversation. But what I was trying to drive at was also that sometimes when you have mediators, it's just like when they say if you want to hear secrets, go to where two friends are fighting. Sometimes you don't really have that best of expression, or sometimes it leads to opening some cans that some people are not ready to deal with. And in some other cases, you find out that because of culture, sometimes you get to hear your views, but they are not really the views. As at the time they get to hear what you're about to say, and then they just shut you down. I've had tough conversations also with clients. Last year, I had in my entire years of consulting, I had a very bad experience with a client. And Titi knows about this. Titi was not my preparatory ground. She was my reporting ground. Which I'm sure you remember, but I'm not mentioning the
I think Finn's comment is kind of like what tied to what you just said, having a difficult conversation with a client that you didn't even see coming. So when it's said, because the question is, what if there's a spontaneous tough conversation where you can't have an agenda, practice, and I think that's the goal of this kind of session here, and saying to you, these are the elements that make for dealing with a tough conversation, regardless. So it happens, my girl. Listen to the other person. Be empathetic. Hold your emotions together, and then go for solutions. I've been in multiple meetings where it's like we're flogging the problem. I'm like, guys, we're still talking about the problem. I'm always we're still talking about the problem, and can we just transition away from talking about the problem and attacking the solution? What are the next steps? And the solutions can be tough. It makes for another tougher set of conversations, but that's what we should be talking about.
So, how do we pull the brakes?
If I can
So
just
you're
add,
having that conversation,
sometimes,
and then it gets
yes,
into a mudslinging thing, calling names. In fact, I just want to say that Rhoda, you must be very this, you must very that. I can't understand this and this and this and that. Why would you do this with all your experience in education and your knowledge? In fact, I think it's over bloated expertise. Blah 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 blah. You're just this and this and that. And then
sorry to me, like
what do
somebody
you
has
do?
used those lines on you before. This
They will not
over-bloated
see you.
expertise. You did not just fall out of this guy.
They will cancel your flight.
Safety is having a tough conversation. KK wanted to say something. Let's hear KK.
KK, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, apologies, I'm in a moving car right now. I want to mention that absolutely there are times where the conversations are totally spontaneous, and to be honest, a lot of times it's very spontaneous. But last Rhoda said, stick with the facts. If you get to that place where the conversation is getting, I mean, that your scenario wrote to me is not tough. That scenario is downright disrespectful, and very emotionally charged as a result of, whatever backstory is happening there. I usually would just put a stop on the brakes and I wouldn't respond anymore. I would typically just say things like, you know what, can we just pause and have this conversation later?
Some other
Or
time,
I'm
yeah.
going to have to take a minute to think about some of the things that you said and get back to you. Because I will not allow myself to be pulled into a conversation where I am disrespected, to where we're not going anywhere with the conversation.
Period. Like that's what I mean
So
by
I will pull myself out of that situation. Yeah.
That's what I mean by putting your emotions in check, because there's a way it becomes disrespectful. It moves from being tough to being what's the word? Moves from being tough to being what's the word? How do they say it again? Disrespectful. That moment, I'm done. I am done. Like I will not respond anymore, because it makes it just changes the conversation. It becomes something else. It's no more a conversation, it's a confrontation. And so you stay quiet and ask for another moment to discuss, to have a discuss.
Titi is having a tough imagination. Is it conversation now?
No, but honestly, that's the best way to just schedule the conversation, because it's no longer a conversation. How Rhoda said it, it's now a confrontation, and nothing is usually achieved with those kind of conversations. So it's better to just reschedule it.
That's right.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid we have to end the show today. I feel like we should just have that kind of conversation, because we've not really had solution about this traveling to Abuja matter, and the person is nearer to the airport than the first time we joined the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is what it is. Thank you, KK. Thank you, Ifyo. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you, Titi. And obviously, Safety, I'm thanking you last. Thank you, Safety Chick, for a wonderful conversation today. It was tough. It had an agenda, and you were part of the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, you've learned from us, you've heard from us. Please put to use what you heard today. And of course, it's always a learning journey. It's always a confrontation that you must avoid, so that you have the conversation that you enjoy. But ladies and gentlemen, you make sure you have yourself a great day, because the ladies have something to say to you as we end the show. Ladies, over to you.
It's always a good morning education show.
Morning education show.
Fantastic. Take care. Bye.
Bye.